Hello, and welcome back to the Mental Health Toolbox. I'm Patrick Martin, your host, here to teach you methods for improving your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior so you can improve your quality of life. And in this episode, I am interviewing clinical psychologist Dr. Lori Whatley. She specializes in the effects of digital device usage on both individuals and businesses. With over 25 years of experience, Dr. Lori has worked with thousands of clients, both domestic and international. Her client list spans CEOs and high-level executives of multi-billion-dollar companies, foreign diplomats, professional athletes, and award-winning producers. As a thought leader in her field, she has been featured in Inc. magazine, Yahoo News, ESPN, Business Insider, plus many local regional publications. Through countless hours of research, Dr. Lori is committed to helping businesses, families, and individuals overcome the endless problems created by excessive device usage. Her book, Effects of Texting on Marital Relationships, offers a poignant, data-backed critique of texting within marriage, including its often negative impact. In addition to working one-on-one with clients, Dr. Lori speaks and advises businesses on the operational effects of over-connected employees, and also how to manage technology distractions in the workplace and drive employee productivity. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the interview. And as always, you can find the show notes in the description below and all relative links. Okay, thank you so much. Stay with us. So, Dr. Whatley, I'm so appreciative that you took the time to sit with me today, and love technology. Distance isn't an issue, but I'm really excited about this interview. Being a therapist myself, I have not come across any research or really on my radar about the impact of social devices and technology on mental health. And so I'm really excited for myself as well as my listeners today to get the opportunity to learn from you and just explore this niche. It's really cool. So you want to start off with Dr. Whatley and tell us a little bit about yourself and your purview and your interest in your field?
Yes. Thank you for having me today, Patrick. I'm excited to be here talking about this topic. You know, it's so interesting because what got me so interested in doing this as my dissertation when I was getting my doctorate was in my private practice. It seems like it came up in almost every session. You know, either someone's child was not doing well in school and we traced it back to they were staying up late at night on their devices and their parents didn't realize it, you know, had their devices in the room with them or whatnot. Or maybe I was working with couples who were having, you know, problems connecting. And, you know, the more questions I asked, maybe they were taking their phone on dates with them and texting or being distracted, as we call phubbing, you know, which is when they're more interested in the phone than the person that they're in the room with. And so it really, I realized, hey, I'm going to need to be able to address this. And so I started really doing a lot of research and looking at the research on this and saw, hey, this is a real thing and it's part of our culture now. And so I'm going to have to understand it better so that I can offer the best care to my clients. So that's what sparked my interest in it. And of course, you know, it's just grown. It's something we all have technology in our lives. So it's really a topic that we can all talk about.
Oh, absolutely. You know, if I'm correct, you've been at this for about 25 years now, right?
Well, I've been
a psychologist, right?
Yeah, I graduated, yes, long time ago with my undergraduate degree from Mercer Medical School. In marriage and family therapy.
So yeah, when I was thinking about that and I was thinking about the interview today, I was just trying to wrap my head around that because there's been so much change with technology just over the last few years, let alone last decade or so. And I was wondering, when you got into the field of mental health, this probably wasn't even on the radar because I know you had mentioned on your dissertation But getting into the field, did you have any clue that technology was going to be such a contributing factor to family dynamics and mental health?
Absolutely not. When I got my graduate degree, I drove 2 hours to school, to night school, and for 3 years, I did that. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. And then when I got my doctorate, now most of the doctoral programs, even with some of the the very best programs in the country are online. And so I was able to do a lot of that online. So just, that has been the way that we can be educated, the way we can get our CEs, not all of them. I know we have to get a lot of them in person, which is great, but just so much of the way that we practice has evolved into online. I don't even know if I had a laptop back. In fact, I'm sure I did not. I might have had a computer in my home back decades ago when I got my graduate degree and did all my papers, on a typewriter. And it was just, I went to the library and did research.
Right.
Now, very, very different now.
Yeah, excellent. So I know you work both with families, individuals, but you also do a lot of work with corporations, right? And the impact of technology.
Yeah, because we've realized that it impacts all areas of our lives. So if someone let's say they have some sort of an addiction that involves one of their devices, it pretty much carries over into their work lives as well as their private lives. So also there's over $90 billion a year lost in the business world through employees on social media during work time. So just introducing these facts, and most C-suite people don't seem surprised when they hear some of these statistics. They know there's a problem, but they haven't figured out how they're going to manage it yet. So just helping them manage some of these issues, and big corporations, small businesses, they all have these concerns now.
Yeah, well, what better person than a behavior specialist to tackle something like a salient behavior like texting or social distractions, right?
Right. Yeah. And I try to make it interesting and fun, and help the the people in the organizations understand that it's a way to help them be more connected and engaged with themselves, and not just be better employees, but also be better, in their private lives.
Excellent. And so where do you find, since now you've kind of had a taste of both working with the family units and with corporations, where do you find that you tend to gravitate more passionately toward? Like, what's more rewarding for you personally, do you think?
Well, the organizational psychology is something that, it's new to me in the past, half decade. So it's not something that I've always done. When I first started decades ago, I was doing, practice, seeing families and individuals, and also teaching nursing students. Psychology. Loved that aspect of it, the big group aspect. And so had decided in the past few years that I was ready to evolve into something a little bit different, which took me into the organizational psychology realm. However, not ready to give up my one-on-one time with my clients, because I really, really enjoy that. So I'm trying to have the best of both worlds right now.
Yeah, 'cause, that is kind of a divide, right? Because I think of something even like a sole practitioner who wants to go into group practice, right? They kind of have to step back a little bit from the clinical direct service work, and then they have to take on more of a manager role, which you can love both, right? You can love the business aspect of things, and you can love working directly with clients. And you're probably very much in that same position because you're attending to both things, right?
Yes, definitely. I just felt a need to learn more and stretch myself. And so I think that led me into the organizational psychology, just because it was something new for me to learn. And I began having conversations with people. People would call me and say, "Hey, I know that you did your doctorate on this subject, and can you help me? This is going on in my business." And it was really me feeling a need that came up for me. And I thought, hey, do I want to do this? Yeah, I do, because I want to learn more and I want to grow. And I think that's what life is about always for us. As long as we're stretching ourselves, it makes it a little more interesting.
Absolutely. Were you kind of surprised at the response and the need?
Yes, definitely. I realized it was going to be a challenge for me in my practice. And so, as I said, that's what made me really delve into it. Well, my doctoral committee, they just really loved it. They were so supportive. They said, this is a great topic. Mm-hmm. They turned it into a book, the effects of texting on the marital relationship. And it's a book full of statistics, so boring, even my sweet mother couldn't read it. It was a doctoral project. Mm-hmm. But so I said, I want to write a book that's more user friendly, which is why I wrote my next book. But so then I knew I was onto something, and they really encouraged me and said, hey, we hope that you'll really, continue on with this after even I'd done my presentation and then given my doctorate. It was in my office every day, and then schools started to contact me to help them, and so it just grew, and it's been wonderful. Excellent.
So then the second book, which was your solo project, was The Connected and Engaged, right?
Yes.
How long ago did that one come out?
This book, Connected and Engaged.
Love the book cover, by the way.
Thank you. My publisher did a wonderful job with that cover. It came out February 11th, so it's kind of new.
Oh, it's fresh out of the oven.
Yes, it is, and I'm just enjoying so much my little book tour and talking about it and meeting with people about it. And I tried to write a book that was, the subtitle is How to Manage Digital Distractions and Reconnect with the World Around You. And, we can just talk about this all day, and everyone is so interested in it, but there's only so much you can say about it. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to also talk about how we can really, be better focused on our relationships or ourselves, or just some of the ways to have less anxiety, since that's the number one reason that people come to see you is anxiety, how to have less anxiety in your life. And so I tried to make it something that's helpful for everybody, even someone who doesn't even own a device or is not really affected. They don't think this book they would find interesting, I feel certain.
Right. But everyone at some point can relate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're already in such a culture of comparative thinking. And what do we know about anxiety, right? It's detrimental to comparative thinking, and that's a lot of what social media encourages, right?
Absolutely. I can talk a lot about the millennials because I have that's my children's age group, and so I dearly love that group. But I have noticed that there is a lot of anxiety in that age group, and I think that the research is in and the data is beginning to pile up about their digital device usage. And I'm not saying that's their only reason for anxiety, but I think that it adds to it, definitely.
Excellent. And so I know, even just looking at the family structure, I mean, we have, even my 5-year-old is, it's almost like an appendage, her iPad.
Wow.
And, but then you also look at other, like the adults and the teenagers. And teenagers, it might be more of a social tool and validation, right? Mm-hmm. And I would think for adults, a lot of it is more passive distraction.
Yeah,
right? Or, oh, wait, let me Google this, information overload, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. That's interesting that you say that about information overload. Because, Patrick, I really do feel like sometimes I love Google. And I really do feel like sometimes I sit down and I am just like getting so much information
Mm-hmm.
coming at me when I Google. It's hard to sift through and it's very time consuming. And then I go down the rabbit hole because then I start following all of that. And before I know it, my whole afternoon is gone and I didn't do any of the, trip to the gym or walk the dog or cook the dinner or the other things that I was going to do. But I want to say that I don't think like technology is this big, bad, awful wolf out there. It makes my life so much easier. And I'm sure it does yours too.
Absolutely.
And, I just feel like I gain so much from it. I think that it's more about understanding how you use it and the way that it impacts us, and then having balance. Balancing that usage is everything. That's what I've had a hard time with because, as I said, when I Google something, I'm a research nerd. I love everything that comes up, and I want to read every little thing. And then I'm down the rabbit hole, and before I know it, the sun has come up, it has gone down, and I'm still, in my Google mode. So I have to be careful with that.
Oh, I can totally relate to that because, once I get an idea in my head, I want to saturate until I feel like I have exhausted all of my questions. Because, you start with one question, right? And then you dive in a little bit, and then you have 5 more questions than you started with. And the deeper you go, the more questions you have, and it'd be easy to lose time.
Oh, it's so true. And that's the therapist in you, right? That's what makes you such a good therapist, because you follow that, that path with your clients and ask the questions and just dig deeper and deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun.
It is fun. But I think that having, like you said, boundaries on our own behavior and knowing what our priorities are so we don't rob time from something else, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. So Connected and Engaged is a different flavor than your first book, which was, you said, more research-based. What would you say, are there any primary prescriptions or formulas in your book that you encourage, like maybe putting the phone down at dinner time or anything like that?
Absolutely. I think, we're trying to become aware, and then we're trying to become intentional about the way that we use it. And just putting your phone down during meal times is, putting it away, not just down. Like, I can't turn it down on the table in front of me. Leave it in another room where I can't hear it, or, we play a little game at my house if we go out to dinner. All the phones have to stay in the cars, and if you bring your phone in and you're caught looking at it, you have to buy everybody's dinner.
I love that.
And so, so that really curtails a lot of the phone usage at our house during mealtime. But, I also say no screens before bedtime for an hour before bedtime, because there's a lot of research on that. And the research says that, these screens stimulate our brains, and, they interrupt our REM sleep. And at night when we're sleeping is when our brain heals from the anxiety of the day. And our brains are so plastic, they're literally changing shape. And so when we wake up and we don't feel rested, that's because we missed a sleep stage maybe, or, things did not go back to the peaceful state. So for that reason, it's really helpful. Also, the blue light affects our melatonin production, which of course is a sleep hormone in our brain. So just, and it's also nice if you have a partner and you climb in bed, that you're able to engage with them and have a conversation, and you're both not, which I'm definitely guilty of. I'm not, but you're both not in your laptops or, distracted.
Yeah, more present.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think about sleep as use a technology pun, is like remember we used to defrag computers? Remember that? You're going, you have to defrag because it would get a little choppy.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that, good sleep is like a good defrag. Your brain is just trying to piece together the things that happen during the day and find the relevance and get rid of the rest.
So true. So
Yeah, absolutely. So in your work, what have because you've done so much. You've worked with all ages, corporations, families, individuals. What have you found the most interesting aspect of your work to date?
well, this new thing, working in corporations and small businesses, um, churches and schools, places where families gather, um, is very interesting to me, as I said, because I'm really having to stay up on the latest um, research, technology research, and do my own research. And so that's growing me, and it's a real challenge, and I love that. Also, um, you know, it's just nice to get up and be moving and interacting. I love to travel, and so a lot of this takes me to other cities and other areas. So I'm traveling and I'm engaging with a larger crowd, which is fun and a challenge because I've always done the one-on-ones or the family work, in my office, which I love, but I've been doing it so long, so it's not as much of a challenge for me, but I'm not ready to give it up.
All right, absolutely. But so it's really afforded you the opportunity to see the world, right? And other cultures and other states and microcultures and how technology plays a part in those areas, right? Those traditions.
Most definitely. And, as I told you earlier, I really am so grateful for technology because I am able to do therapy with people all over the world, and some in areas where there are no therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And because of technology, we're able to do, this online work. And that is just fabulous. And it's also, I'm enjoying that, Patrick, because it's a challenge because to really do a job, you have to understand the culture. So let's say if I'm working with a woman in the Middle East, I'm going to need to really understand that culture to be able to understand her and her life. Or if I'm working with someone in South Africa, let's say I'm working with a man in South Africa, I'm going to really need to understand that culture. And so that's another way that I've really gotten to grow. And just, I have a love. I've been to 87 countries. I love to travel.
I read that. I was like, wow, that is amazing.
That's my thing. That's my hobby. But, I love to go and learn about other cultures and their way of doing things. I hope I'm very open-minded, borrow from them, share with them. And that's just been a huge interest for me always. So this work kind of allows for that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So, wow, I mean, you've done so much. Where do you see your work taking you next? Like, what's the next adventure for you?
I think, actually, a few people are talking to me about doing a series with Connect and Engage. So maybe Connected and Engage for families specifically, and one for businesses specifically. So I loved writing. That was really, I think once you spend so much time researching and writing, getting your doctorate, it's really hard to not have it in your life anymore. And so I found that I missed that 5 a.m. up writing that I was doing in school. And so I just shifted it over to writing a book. And that's been so I have a couple more books that I would like to write. And just continue to work and share with the world in a bigger way, as well as continuing on with my one-on-one.
Excellent. And so, I mean, so you it's not a chore so much as it is a passion to write, which is excellent.
Absolutely. I don't think I couldn't do it if it was a chore. It, to me, is a joy and a gift. That I'm able to do that. And I almost feel lazy now because I'm not getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do my hour of writing before I start seeing clients or before I go to speak somewhere or go to work in a small business or organization. So I've really realized how much I miss that.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, I'm trying to imagine, being a parent and having this wonderful business and also your therapy practice and and being an author, right, in addition to a speaker, how you allocate time to these different things because you love them all.
Yes.
And they're all important.
And I want to say to you, Patrick, I mean, I know you're a parent of young children now, and there's a time and a season for everything. And when my kids were little, I was not, in fact, I stopped practicing for a while because it was just too much. It didn't work with their schedules. And I was teaching some then, and then always knew that when my last child left home and I was an empty nester, that I was going to begin again. And we used to laugh and say, I used to say, well, when my kids are gone and I know everything, after I've raised children, I know everything, then I'm going to go back in and start practicing more. And what I learned is that I don't know anything. But
don't we all?
Life teaches you, right? I learned that I don't know anything. But any experience that I have in parenting and life up to this point, I love to share because it's a gift for us to be able to give back to those who haven't been on that part of the path yet. And if we can share information that helps them, makes their life richer or makes their life easier, then we want to do that. But I know you said that you have small children at home, and I'll say that is the biggest, most important gift to the world that you can offer, and having that time with them, because it really is over fast.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You blink, right?
Yeah, it really is. It didn't feel like it when it was happening. Some days felt real long, but I look back now and I'm thinking, wow. But I'm so grateful to have these avenues to be able to have such a passion for.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I really, even as a therapist, have to be really mindful about, even if I'm sitting down to play Barbies, with my 5-year-old or something, I have to put my phone in the other room, like on the charger, and come back in, just so I don't have the temptation, because it's just such a pull. I just want to look at this one thing, or I just heard that notification.
Yes, it is so true. I can, it's kind of funny because my teenagers used to say, we would be in the car before they were driving, and I'd be driving carpool, and they'd say, Mom, the phone would ring in the car, and they'd say, Mom, don't answer that. And so now I'm in the car with them saying, hey, don't answer that. I have 5 minutes with you.
Right. Doesn't that just strike you to the core? Doesn't it?
It's like, wow, the roles have really turned, and they're reversed. But yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that even my 5-year-old sometimes. And it's one thing when we say it to ourselves, but I think it's a whole nother level when our children or our spouse say, hey, or they'll, like, even my 5-year-old sometimes will go so far as to take my phone and turn it face down. And that says volumes to me. And I would think, I'm not even looking at it that much, right? Yeah. But to them, they notice.
We absolutely do not realize how addicted we are to our phones. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, how do you tell us about the research around this? And I said, the research is, data's in, research is out there. You can Google it all day and see the effect. But the most important research is what you will do in your home. So I'm going to recommend that you put your phone up tonight and sit down with your family for dinner, or play Barbies with your kids, and watch the connection and see how more connected and engaged you are, and see what that feels like for you. It feels good. It really feels good. And that is the research that's most important of all.
Yes, absolutely. And to feel good about how we spend our time, to be single-minded about it.
Absolutely.
Um, what do you, I mean, a couple more questions. I'm curious in your journey in this niche, what have been some major turning points for you? Like as I know things progress kind of organically in any field. And we obviously don't ever plan usually being where we are early on, right? But for you, what have been some things that have really been pivotal points for you?
It's kind of interesting, Patrick. I'll share with you. I don't know that I've ever really shared how I got into therapy. You'll love this as a therapist.
Hmm.
So I was having a lot of problems in my marriage, and my spouse did not want to go to therapy. And so this was, you know, after we had small children, and he did not want to go to therapy, did not believe in therapy, and so that was not an option, and
Hmm.
things were not getting any better. And then my kids became school age, and so I got this bright idea that I would go to school and I would become a therapist and I would fix him and
Oh,
fix marriage.
right.
And so I went to marriage and family therapy, to school to be a marriage and family therapist. And what I learned was that I had to fix me. And
Hmm.
it was the beginning of a wonderful journey. Unfortunately, that marriage did not last. I got healthy and learned, that I couldn't fix other people and quite possibly would not be able to fix this marriage. Um, and so that was the beginning for me. And then so my kids are in school now, and I was working as a therapist and then teaching some. And then as they began to, they were in high school, and the first one went to college, and I realized, okay, this is that time I've been waiting for.
Hmm.
And I became, I always wanted to get my doctorate because I'm just a nerd. I'm a research nerd. I love, and so that led me to higher education, becoming an empty nester. And then I think being an empty nester then gave me more time to explore other avenues, like we've talked about, like
Hmm.
I'm sure you will probably do. As your life evolves, you'll find other niches within this realm that work for you and that make your heart sing and that you have interest in. And I found out that I enjoyed writing, when I was getting my doctorate. So then I started with the writing. And so, as you said, I think, things unfold as they're supposed to. And I wouldn't give anything for my life experiences that I've been able to bring to the table and share with others and help others grow, or just pass this information on, has been such a blessing for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely that's kind of a revelation too, I think, for all of us when we come to that place where we understand that we can't change other people. And, sometimes we other people will change by proxy. Sometimes we use that analogy of chess, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're used to playing chess with someone for years and years and years, it's kind of like you don't even think about your moves because you're already subconsciously anticipate their counter moves, right? And so you get into these behavioral patterns. But when we change how we respond to things,
Oh, so
then
true.
then sometimes that forces other people's hands, or at least makes them pause for a minute to think about their own reactions.
Right. And I think too, it gave me strength and courage to leave an unhealthy relationship. It gave me strength and courage. Um, I mean, that's one reason I think therapy is so amazing and so wonderful is because you can peel back the layers and learn about yourself and grow. And when you're not concentrating on changing this person over here, you become strong enough to be able to deal with life and the consequences of whatever's going on with that person. You then feel like it's okay. I'm capable of managing this and moving on and moving forward. So
Absolutely.
that was what, therapy was for me. Because, as a therapist, to be a therapist, we have to go through a lot of therapy.
Yes.
Thank goodness. And it's fabulous. I loved it. Just fell in love with it.
Yes. It is, and I think that's a lot of people, in society. There's more more awareness around mental health and the importance of it, more acceptance. I think there's still some stigma and a lot of work to be done, but I think even the terminology you're seeing, like between wellness centers and life coaching and coaching in general, therapy is often is being seen as, for all it is now, not just processing thoughts and feelings, but also exploring life goals and how to improve quality of life and relationships and interpersonal skills and all of the multifaceted things that involve and surround therapy, right?
So true. And one of the things that one of my clients said to me one day, which is so true, is that he said, I think that the healthy people are in therapy. I was so afraid to come to therapy because of the stigma. And then now I've realized, the longer I've been in, that this is where healthy people are. And I thought that was an interesting way for him to put that, and appreciated him sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? People who want to get better, people who have goals, or at least want to identify their goals. I mean, a lot of people don't know what it is they want when they come into therapy, but that's a lot of what it is. It's figuring out what you want and how to get it.
Exactly. And everything manifests, everything that we manifest in our lives begins in our brain, and it begins as a thought, possibly. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what mental health is getting acquainted with our thoughts and understanding what to do with them and how to manage them, and what works best for us in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And especially the behavior change. We're talking about things like our behavior around, like in your niche, like devices and stuff. It is a mental battle, right? How we justify when to engage and when to not.
Right.
Right.
One of the things, Patrick, that I feel about the devices are, when we have the heads down, finger scrolling activity going on, sometimes that behavior is about wanting to hide.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a way for us to hide. I had a client recently who shared with me that she goes into the lunchroom and pulls out her phone, and and she doesn't really want to connect with people, so it just helps her hide from the world. And I think sometimes we don't realize we're doing that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had clients who say they wear headphones in the bus. They're not even listening to music. They just don't want anybody to bother them.
Right. Exactly. And imagine, as we talked about earlier, as a couple, and you get in the bed and you're at night and kind of want to unwind and talk about the day with your partner, and they're in their device. So what is that message to you?
It's an unspoken boundary.
Yeah, exactly. And so it kind of starts to build walls that we don't realize are there. But I think as a culture, as a society, we are beginning to build those walls. And I think it's affecting a lot of areas of our lives and our relationships. And so bringing those walls down so that we can connect with each other and engage in healthy ways, because we are created for connection.
Oh, absolutely.
In-person connection.
Yes, our survival is dependent on it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So a lot of along those lines, it's the intention of creating space for potential for interaction, right? Yeah. To create opportunity for interaction.
Yes, and not having that closed off.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So I'm wondering, like, if you had some nuggets of wisdom, some kind of highlight points, key points you would like the listeners to really take away from this interview, what comes to mind? What would you like to to gift to them?
I think that one thing that's really important is, that we minimize the stress in our lives that is brought about from our, device usage. And somehow or another that helps us, as a second point, to be more engaged with a renewed energy and a renewed confidence. Because our devices do intrude upon our confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if we spend 24/7 in interacting, with only our devices, going out into the real world can feel really awkward. So I think, and then as a third point, really choosing to be intentional about your device usage and build strong relational connections with the people that are close to you and with yourself. That awareness, I think, is important for our world right now.
Excellent. So it's important to not condition ourselves to be isolative beings. Because what do we know about anxiety in general, right? I mean, the way people become agoraphobic or a fear of leaving their house, it doesn't happen overnight. It's slowly stepping back and forfeiting territory in their lives and saying, oh, I'm not going to drive anymore. I'm not going to take public transportation anymore. I'm not going to engage other people because it makes me anxious. And before they know it, the only safe place they have is their bedroom. And I could see how technology could definitely facilitate that progression.
Absolutely, because what is there that you cannot do now?
Mm-hmm.
I can order in my food. I can order in my groceries. I can order in concierge missions. There's nothing that you can't do with your phone now except be connected and engaged in person. And there's nothing like looking into another person's eyes or having someone reach across the table and, hold your hand or pat your hand or just, having those human physical interactions is everything that I think we have become, we're immune to realizing how much we need that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Is there any topic that you find very interesting that you haven't really spoken to or explored that you would like to kind of dive into at some point?
I love everything about human behavior. Obviously, as a psychologist, the study of human behavior, I love everything about it. I've done, my first graduate degree, my master's was in marriage therapy, couples therapy, when I decided I was going to fix my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next, then studied families. So I really, really love that whole genre. But I have found that, they say that when you're ready to learn, the lesson comes to you, the teacher comes to you. Mm-hmm. Well, this technology thing, if you told me 40 years ago that I would write a book about this and that do my doctorate on it, I would have said, what? That sounds so totally boring, like I'm not about to do that. And because I can hardly operate my own technology. But, I think the lesson comes to you. So I'm excited to see what comes to me next for learning within under the umbrella of human behavior. And I think culturally and as a world, there's always something new that's coming up and presenting itself that we can learn and connect around.
Oh yes, change is a constant.
Definitely.
And human behavior is always going to be around.
Yes.
If the listeners wanted to learn more and find out about what you're about and or to grab your book or find you on social media, where could they go to learn more about you?
Thank you for asking that, Patrick. That's very kind of you. I have a website, drloriwhatley.com, and there's a lot on there, and that website is growing. Thank goodness for people who do understand technology and build and help me with that sort of thing, and also help me with social media. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I do a little daily content on definitely Instagram and most of the time Facebook. So you see, it's not as if I feel like those are terrible, wicked things. It's how we use them and how much we use them. Balance, as in everything in life, balance. So I'm available, Lori Whatley, on Instagram and Facebook.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it is definitely a tool, technology, and it's more about the intention and the boundaries we place on it.
Right. Absolutely. Good point.
Very good. Well, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today. I wish you all of the best life has to offer in your endeavors and your pursuits. And if you are open to it, I'd love to check in with you in the future and maybe do a follow-up.
I would love that. I absolutely enjoyed this so much, and I love talking to other therapists and sharing and growing together. So I appreciate it's an honor for me that we got to have this time together today.
Well, there you have it. I hope you found this helpful. If you enjoy this content, you can find more at thementalhealthtoolbox.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, like and subscribe and share if you want to join me in raising mental health awareness. Thank you so much. You take care now. Bye-bye.